Howdy, this is the Views from the Schott podcast. I'm your host, your one and only host, Tim Miller, and today it is Saturday, November 8th, 2025, and I wish you a very, very, very happy Cook Something Bold and Pungent day. On today's show, we are covering Ohio State's win over Purdue Fort Wayne. The Buckeyes improved to 2-0 with a 94-68 victory on Friday night. We will cover the game in its entirety, first half, second half thoughts and notes. We'll talk about key performers and key stats in this game, as well as some takeaways here to close out the show. You know how it goes on these recap shows. What you're used to is what we continue to do. Joey Lane crushed it, and I say that right here because I don't want to seem like I'm sucking up to Joey Lane. I see a lot of people out there tweeting at Joey Lane saying, hey, he's doing a great job on Big Ten Network. I, too, hope he gets more opportunities, but I'm not going to say it to his face, all right? I'm not going to be that guy. He's been on the show. We love having him on, but I'm not going to be the guy who tags him. I'm just going to say it behind his back, and it's actually good words instead of bad words. So shout out Joey on his first time behind the mic on an Ohio State game this year. We had some not so good in this game as well. Not only in the game, but outside the game. We have Twitter accounts, maybe it's an Ohio State podcast, who flamed Gabe Cupps in game one. That tweet since deleted. In game two, going after Gabe Cupps, and also saying that Ohio State should have hired Matt Patricia as its basketball defensive coordinator. Because if that is the type of news that you need on the basketball side, well, then I encourage you to go there instead of here. As for this show, we will go in and we'll cover Ohio State and its game and the program in general, and a little bit more of it's just a different approach. All right, this may not be for everyone, but at least for us on this show, we're gonna approach it just slightly differently. So that said, please subscribe wherever you get your podcast. We got a 5-star review recently. I asked for just one. Maybe we can get another. I don't know. Maybe we can just a small snowball that leads into an avalanche of 5-star reviews. Who's that going to hurt? No one. So subscribe wherever you get your podcast as well. Subscribe on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube right now, please like the video. I mean you. Hit the thumbs up and maybe a comment about your thoughts on this game. Follow on the socials as well. So the Buckeyes pick up another victory here to improve to 2-0. This isn't a surprise. Ohio State expected to win each of its first 3 games rather comfortably, and at least in this one, they win this game rather comfortably. Like I said, 94-68. The final in this game, I believe the BIP had Ohio State scoring 94 points exactly, so good job to the BIP. Bad job to the BIP on banger bets so far this year, so apologies on that. By the way, if you want banger bets, along with other news and notes on Ohio State basketball, you know where you can get that, right? It's Views from the Schott podcast.substack.com. So I don't want this doc up. That's the wrong one. Let me get back to my right doc here so that we can actually talk about this game. Ohio State wins this game. Some key stats in this one. How can you start anywhere other than with Bruce Thornton? 38 points in this game. It's a career high for him. The senior for the Buckeyes absolutely balls out and an incredibly efficient performance in this game. I will talk more about him later on, but his 38 points lead the way for Ohio State. Offensively, this Ohio State offense is very, very good. I predicted that they were going to be the best offense in terms of scoring output in the entire Big Ten. That absolutely is within the cards right now. I know it's just 2 games, but this offense is really, really good. They score 118 points in game 1. They score 94 points in game 2, and they shoot 67% from the field in this win. John Mobley Jr. was the worst shooter from the field among starters, and he shot 46%. Among 5 starters, he was the worst shooter from the field. That's incredible. The Buckeyes also shot 57% from deep. Christoph Tilley was 1 of 5 from the 3-point line. I think he hit his first one and then missed his next 4 to close out this game. But regardless, outside of him, you see Devin Royal come in. He hits both of his 2 triples in the second half, comes off the bench in the second half, dealing with something. I'm not sure what that is, but clearly dealing with something. He goes 2 for 2. You see Bruce Thornton, he goes 5 of 8. John Mobley Jr. goes 5 of 9. Off the bench, Amari Bynum goes 2 of 2. And Matthew Grujic goes 1 of 1, scoring his first points as a Buckeye. So Ohio State from the field, from behind the three-point line, absolutely insanely good in this game and now in their first 2 games. And yet again, they share the ball. This was a major point of emphasis from the offseason that is carried into the regular season now, was assisting more, 22 assists on 34 made field goals. The play style for some, if you know, you know. The play style for some, I don't know if we want to be a part of that. For those on this team right now, they're enjoying it. Christoph Tilley, he had 4 assists in this game. Bruce Thornton with 5. John Mobley Jr. with 4 dimes as well. So overall, as you look at just the key stats in this one, it starts with the offense. Ohio State was highly, highly efficient. They did turn the ball over 19 times in this game, which is bad. But I mean, outside of that, you take away 19 possessions from turnovers and you still score 94 points. I get it. It's Purdue Fort Wayne. You still shot 67% from the field and 57% from the three-point line over the course of a 40-minute game. That could be against Purdue Fort Wayne or Purdue, like the real Purdue. I don't care. Either way, that's highly, highly impressive, and Ohio State deserves credit for all of the offensive success that it had in this one. And in the first 4 minutes of this game, as we transition now into the first half, in the first 4 minutes of this game, Bruce Thornton makes a 2. John Mobley Jr. hits a 3. Christoph Tilley, he makes a layup. That was from driving behind the three-point line, by the way. Christoph Tilley, he makes a 3 after that. Bruce Thornton, he then follows up with the 3. You get 1 turnover, and then you get a Tilley layup and a Mobley made 3. That's all in the first 4 minutes of this game. You notice how involved Christoph Tilley was early on in this one. It looked like he was well on his way to leading the team in scoring in this game. Instead, it was Bruce Thornton until he kind of cools off toward the end of the first half and in the second half. Finishes with a nice game. In 23 minutes, he has 15 points in this one. But early on, I mean, he was big. He hits a layup. He hits another 3. He hits another layup. Really big. But then defensively, and coming into this game, this was the one question I had was, can you just give us some hope, Ohio State defense? Can you do that? And defensively, in the first 4 minutes, they force a missed field goal, a turnover, a missed three-pointer, a made 2. That's it. That's all you saw defensively from Ohio State, which is really good. And I know there's still people who are pretty unhappy with Ohio State's defensive performance in this one. I will get to that at the end of the show with one of the biggest takeaways I have from this game. But overall, your first 4 minutes were absolutely excellent. You go up 13-2 at one point. I think they might have scored the first 8 points in this game, or they were up 8-2, something like that. But overall, Ohio State offensively and defensively absolutely dominated to start this game, which is huge. And then you just get a long stretch of marathon basketball. We're running up and down the floor. We're not getting any stoppages in play. You finally get the media timeout. You get some subs in with 13 minutes left in the first half. And Ohio State is up 22-7. And this one is one of the first pivotal moments, I would say, for Ohio State in this game, because you go out there and you've got your starting 5. And they go out and they get up to a 15-point lead early on a team that you should beat rather easily, but you still got to go out and do it. So they get up 22-7. What happens when you start to filter in those bench players? You got Negavon going in. You've got Gabe Cupps. You've got Amari Bynum subbing in as well. This is another game, your second game in a row now. It seems like this is going to be the norm, where in that first rotation, you've got 3 guards. You got Cupps, Thornton, and John Mobley Jr., along with Bynum and Negavon in there as your 5. And with those 5 in there, you get a couple of buckets. Bruce Thornton, John Mobley Jr., they stay hot from deep. The Buckeyes get to 30 points before the 10-minute mark. Yet again, offense very, very hot at that point. Bruce Thornton has 12 points at that point, 5 of 5 from the field. And the lead goes from 15-16. That's in a period with John Mobley Jr. and Bruce Thornton, but no Christoph Tilley. Your next test comes when Christoph Tilley is out. Bruce Thornton is now in with the subs. So, or sorry, you've got Christoph Tilley in, you've got Bruce Thornton in with some subs. John Mobley Jr. steps out. So you're noticing here, at least early on in the game, Jake Diebler is not allowing Ohio State to play without two of Bruce Thornton, John Mobley Jr., or Christoph Tilley in the game. So now you got Tilley, you got Thornton, 31-17 at that point before the starters end up going in. This is what you're looking for, right? Like, you look at what happened last season with Ohio State. You look at the lack of depth. Without the core four that I talked about all the time last season, Ohio State really struggled offensively. They couldn't get anything. And yet, the lead when your starting five leaves is at 15. It goes up by 1 point. And then you get all your starting five back in there, and you're still up by 14 points. Absolutely nothing to complain about at that point. You have no drop off. Again, the question with this team this year has not been the starting five. You know what you got in Bruce Thornton. You know what you got in John Mobley Jr. With Devin Royal, did we know what we had in him coming into the season? I think we had some cautious optimism, but at this point, I feel really good about what I've seen from Devin Royal. His minutes limited in this one. He's perfect from the three-point line. He's aggressive from the three-point line as well. I think defensively, still looking a little slow in terms of guarding the ball out on the three-point line. Is that something that you can work on, or is that something you just have to live with? I don't know. That'll get answered soon enough. But the question was not about the starting five. It wasn't necessarily, again, Brandon Knoll, was the athleticism going to translate? With Christoph Tilley, we felt really good about him. Outside of the starting five, what do you get? This is a great step in the right direction from Ohio State. I'm not saying that this is something we can check off. This isn't something that we throw away at this point, are the concerns about who is Ohio State outside of its starting five, but it's just one data point at this point. In a season that's going to be scattered with data points, you have one tonight where you saw the Ohio State depth. It was there for the Buckeyes. Then it's bad. Then it's bad for Ohio State. You get the first 10 minutes, and Ohio State looks good in the first half. In the second half, you score 3 points in 5 minutes. Bruce Thornton misses a three. Negavon, he had his lunch money taken away from him, leading to a layup on the other end. John Mobley Jr., he misses a shot. But then Brandon Knoll, he cuts from the corner, finishes, powerful two-hand slam, get the Buckeyes to 35 points with 4.5 minutes left. John Mobley Jr. follows up with a triple. And this is just more proof. This offense, it can score and get a spark in no time. It doesn't need any time to get there. It's just a matter of how long are they going to play like 90th percentile offense, 80th percentile of what they can be, and maybe a couple minutes or even just a few games per year where they're 100th percentile offensively of what they can be. That's a question. We know how good this offense can be. We've seen the ceiling in these first two games of how good the offense could be. But again, you see what you saw in the final 10 minutes of the first half. It was sloppy. You had 8 turnovers in the final 10 minutes, 5 straight turnovers combined by the two teams at one stretch in the final 10 minutes. They scored 8 points over 8 minutes from the 10-minute to the 2-minute mark in the first half, and 15 points in the final 10 minutes. That's not necessarily bad. It's an okay number, but it looks a lot better thanks to a good final 90 seconds in the first half. And Ohio State at halftime, they go up 45-30. They look good. They feel good. Everything feels comfortable at this point. So you go into halftime, Bruce Thornton's got 19 points. He's 8 of 10 from the field, 2 of 4 from the three-point line. He's got 4 rebounds, and he's got 4 assists. John Mobley Jr., this is a player I mentioned in the pregame show where I thought this was a game he could kind of get back on track with his shooting, at least based on how Purdue Fort Wayne guards. And in the first half, he proved he could. 14 points, 4 made three-pointers. I think he made a couple more three-pointers. Yeah, just one more three-pointer in the second half, but you have 14 points in the first 20 minutes. That's a good sign. As a team, they shoot 62%, 44% from the three-point line. They go into the halftime with an 18-8 rebounding advantage. Devin Royal, by the way, had 0 points. He didn't even attempt a field goal in the first half. Is that a bad thing? I don't know. I don't know what the coaching staff would say to that. Maybe they want to see him get him touches. But he scored 45 points in one half without Devin Royal having to score any points. I mean, it just shows that this offense is so much better. It's so much more versatile than it was last year. Because if you go into halftime in a game last year against Nebraska and Devin Royal scores 0 points, you're probably down by like 8 points because you got nowhere else to go other than Thornton, Mobley, and sometimes Micah Parrish. Now, the problem here with Ohio State offensively in the first half, they had 10 first half turnovers. That's really bad. As I said, they end this game with 19 total turnovers. Turnovers were a problem in this game. Will it be a long-term problem? I don't know. Still scored 94 points in this game, like I said. The second half comes around. Gabe Cupps starts in place of Devin Royal. Adam Jardy said he was on an exercise bike. We saw he was on an exercise bike if you're watching the broadcast. But again, in the second half, turnovers continue to be a major problem. Only 3 at the 14:44 mark in the second half. It didn't feel like the right number. As I'm tracking these stats live, just using ESPN's website, I see 3 turnovers in the first 5 minutes, 16 seconds of this game. It just didn't feel right to me. Felt like it was more. But even if it was 4, or sorry, even if it was 3, you still saw the sloppy play regardless. Just like the first half, it's limiting their scoring. And then Purdue Fort Wayne starts to make this a game. If you go from the 16-25 to the 14-25 mark in the second half, Ohio State's possessions were turnover, layup, turnover, 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 timeout. That's bad. That's really bad. And again, Ohio State scored 94 points in this contest. They won a game in which the final 10 minutes of the first half, or I guess the 10-minute mark to the 1-minute 30-second mark of the first half, plus this stretch in the second half, they still won this game and they covered. And they scored 94 points. Turnover, layup, turnover, 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 timeout. That's real. Look it up. That's real. So out of the timeout, and this is something that I always pay attention to with coaches, is what happens out of a timeout. I think we saw this with Chris Holtmann, especially down the stretch of his tenure, which you'd call timeout, or you'd have a baseline out of bounds play, and even a little bit with Jake Diebler as well. I feel like I've mentioned at times where things are not right. They're not cohesive. But out of the timeout, Jake Diebler calls it. He settles his team down, and Bruce Thornton makes the layup right out of the timeout. But then Purdue Fort Wayne continues to push in this game. The lead goes down to 9 with 13 minutes left. It's down to 7 with 12 and a half left. And then Ohio State just takes over. Devin Royal steps into a 3, just seconds into his first playing time in the second half. He hits a 3. Bruce Thornton hits a 3 on the very next possession. Purdue Fort Wayne continues to defend the 3 with little effort tonight. Ohio State makes 16 triples in this game. You got to defend the 3, especially when you're playing a team like Ohio State. This is why I said again, Ohio State's more than capable of scoring 100 points in this game. They come up just shy. But when you play a defense like Purdue Fort Wayne that is somewhat casual defending the 3-point line, and you know how good Ohio State is shooting the 3 ball, you felt like you were going to get yours in this game. And Ohio State absolutely did. Defensively, the Buckeyes moved to a 2-3 zone. They still kind of struggled. Christoph Tilley gets dunked on from a catch and dunk in the short corner. He fouls a player before that, but it's anchors away. We're just shooting 3 balls from here on out, and that's how we're going to pull away. That's Ohio State basketball, at least this year and in the first couple of games. Devin Royal hits another. John Mobley Jr. hits a triple. Bruce Thornton, he hits one to get to 33 points. Ohio State up 75-57. And at that point, you feel fine. Amari Bynum, he hits one in the corner. You're now up 83-62. And it's time to warm up the buses from there. Matthew Grujicic comes in. He hits a triple. That's your ball game. So Ohio State wins this game, I think in large part thanks to you make 16 3-pointers. On the flip side, Purdue Fort Wayne, they made 5 threes. It's pretty much impossible to win a game with that much difference. From the free throw line, Ohio State is 10 of 13 in this game. That's okay. With that small amount of free throws attempted, even if you miss a couple, the free throw percentage isn't going to look great. On the other side, Purdue Fort Wayne makes 11 free throws. So if that's the way you're going to get into it, they didn't do it. And the other way you can get into it, if you're getting way outshot from the 3-point line, is turnovers. Like I said, Ohio State had 19 in this one. Purdue Fort Wayne had 13. So they protected the ball a little bit better. It didn't matter. They shot 44% from the field compared to Ohio State 67. And they shot, like I said, 5 of 22, 23% from the 3-point line. Ohio State, 57% from the 3-point line. You're not going to win. It's impossible. That's okay. It's Purdue Fort Wayne. They came out and they played, and I'm sure they enjoyed their time. So, takeaways and reactions from this game. Again, you got to talk about Bruce Thornton. He remains the last of his kind. He remains the do it all player for Ohio State. He remains so underappreciated by the Ohio State fan base in general. You look at the way even fans tweet about this game tonight. I think a lot of people kind of box score watching, or they see a tweet here, they see a tweet. I mean, even me, like I'm not here to sugarcoat things. I had some tweets tonight talking about that stretch with the turnovers. I talked about how John Mobley Jr. had some sloppy minutes in this game. I was not going to act like this was a perfect game for Ohio State, and that's not what I want you to think. Is what I think is that they had a perfect game. But all in all, I think his fan base has been so hampered by the negativity of missing the NCAA tournament year over year over year. Now, 3 years in a row, they missed the NCAA tournament, and they haven't been able to fully appreciate Bruce Thornton. He scores 38 points. That's a career high. 14 to 17 from the field. That's 2K numbers. It's a snow day in January, and I'm sitting down playing like 2K14 or something with my player who plays for like the Phoenix Suns. And it's like, all right, I got 7 hours until basketball practice starts. And hopefully my coach doesn't cause my teammate to go into a seizure. That's a topic for another day. Seeing someone have a seizure, man, I'm sure there's some listeners that have seen that. That's not fun. All you can think about is, man, we're just going to ball out today. We're going to go 14 to 17 from the field. That's something you can do on 2K. It's not something you should be able to do in real life. Yeah, Bruce Thornton did it, and he did it effortlessly in this game. Not only 14 to 17 from the field, but 8 of those shots come from deep. 5 made 3-pointers in this game. He makes all 5 of his free throw attempts, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, a complete effort and game for Bruce Thornton in this one. Again, I mean, he's climbing up the record books in Ohio State scoring history. He's now up to 15th all time, passing John Diebler. By the way, he started in this game 20th all time in scoring in Ohio State program history. He's up to 15th with that 38 point outburst. So huge game for Bruce Thornton. He remains one of the most underappreciated players in Ohio State program history. Unfortunately, due to the fact that you've lost 3 seasons in a row. You haven't made the NCAA tournament. You've missed the NCAA tournament. You haven't made a run in March Madness. You won a game. Bruce Thornton's never been to the NCAA tournament. But the caliber of player that he is, to stay at Ohio State for 4 seasons, to have the production that he's had for 4 seasons, to play and to start and to be a captain at a high-end Division I program, the same one 4 years in a row, not go to the NBA, not take the money and go somewhere else, but stay at Ohio State and put up a career high 38 points, going 14 of 17 from the field. That is insane. It needs to be talked about more. The fan base needs to appreciate him more. He needs to get recognized nationally more. This is one of the most important players in Ohio State history based on the era that we're in college basketball with the NIL and with Portal. And Bruce Thornton stays true to Ohio State and to Columbus. And I don't care if it's against Purdue Fort Wayne. I couldn't give a crap less. It's still 38 points. He missed 3 shots from the field, taking 17. That's insane. Bruce Thornton deserves more love. And if you're listening to this show, if you watch this show regularly, I'm sure you love him as much as a guy like me does. Huge game for Bruce Thornton in this one. Thoughts on the defense? I mean, I think they've improved. I think that this game was an improvement for Ohio State overall defensively, but you still left some guys open. Colin White in the first half, he sagged a little too far, leaving a shooter open. That shot was missed. Tayson Chapman, he got cooked all the way to the floor. Pull-up mid-range shot, it was missed. Ivan Negevon, he left a man wide open. He just doesn't have the defensive range, the short area quickness to get out there. Shot missed. Christoph Tilley, I don't think he's where the coaching staff would want him to be at this point defensively. So there were times where I think law of averages, there were some tight closeouts, and there were some shots made by IU Indy in game 1 that quite frankly shouldn't have been made. In this game, there were some guys left open where you probably should have made some of these shots, but they didn't, so it averages out. So you look at the field goal percentage, And you look at the amount of points that they gave up in this game, it probably could have and maybe should have been worse. But after what you saw against IU Indy, I think it just evens out. So the defense probably not where you want it to be yet. But coming into the show or coming into this game on the pregame show, I said, look, if you give up 75, even if you can just give up 75 points or less, you feel fine. You're not happy. We're not clapping and high-fiving our friends and patting Bruce Thornton on the butt and saying, hey, great effort out there for that defense. But you gave up 102 to IU Indy, who scored 90 against LIU 2 nights ago. I mean, just give us a step. And they did more than that in this one. They allowed 68 points, 44% from the field, only 5 3-pointers made. I did the math here. Now, I don't have the total number of possessions that Purdue Fort Wayne had in this game. But here's what I will tell you. Based on the projected possessions number, I guess I would say, based on the amount of possessions Purdue Fort Wayne likely had, based on the field goal attempts, based on the free throw attempts, based on offensive rebounds, based on turnovers, their projected defensive efficiency in this game is 93.8. That is absolutely excellent. If it holds, or even if it's close to that, that is a highly, highly encouraging sign for Ohio State. You can say, well, it was against Purdue Fort Wayne. Who gives a crap? And to you, I say, all right, come here. Come here. Come here. I'm going to give you a piece of moldy cheese. I'm going to throw it into a trash can. You're going to go crawl into that trash can. I'm going to throw a wet coffee filter on you with some coffee grounds. I'm slamming the lid. All right? It's pointless. Like, yes, I get it's against Purdue Fort Wayne. Why do I give a crap? Yeah, Ohio State has to play games like this. Every program has to play games like this. On Friday night, when half of college basketball was playing college basketball, we had one real game. One. That was it. The entire night. It was Kansas in North Carolina. I'd rather not talk about that outcome. If you know my feelings on North Carolina, we're just going to sweep that under the rug. You have to play games like these. That's just how it goes. And maybe next year when I have Jake Diebler on the show, I'll ask him, hey, Jake, would you mind telling fans why it's important to play games against Purdue Fort Wayne and IU Indy? Like, we can't play Kansas every game, fellas. And you know what? For how much you complain about the Ohio State record and how they haven't made the NCAA tournament and how their schedule was too hard last year, which is it? Which do you want, guy? We can't do both, man. All right? Ohio State's not going to go 31-0 playing Kansas and North Carolina and then Creighton every year. It just doesn't work that way. It doesn't. So relax. A 93.8 projected defensive efficiency is absolutely encouraging. It is excellent. We're moving in the right direction. Just let that be that. It's a 40-minute game. Relax. If you're mad about the Ohio State defense, it's a 40-minute game. We are 2 games in. We have 29 to go. I don't know the exact percentage of what that is for the entire season. It's not a lot, folks. It's not a lot. Okay? So defense looks encouraging. I think from this game, we can be encouraged. By the way, Gabe Cupps, absolutely stopper. He's a stopper of the ball. Again, caveat, because you've got people. I see people talking like this on Twitter. So I guess I have to say it anyway. Maybe I'm too angry. Maybe I'm being way too optimistic. I feel like that's not who I've been on this show. And maybe I'm just being straight up condescending. But some of these takes, they just get annoying at some point. Like, you won and you covered. Good teams win, great teams cover. Ohio State's great after this game. Gabe Cupps. He forced a steal that led to a Bruce Thornton layup while getting fouled on the other end. He picks off a pass early in the second, leading to a Christoph Tilly score. Look, it's the popular take. It's easy to get likes on Twitter, to tweet about how bad Gabe Cupps is. It's stupid. It is absolute smooth-brained behavior to complain about Gabe Cupps. For all the things we can complain about over the past 3 years on Ohio State basketball, Gabe Cupps is not one of them, okay? He plays 19 minutes in this game. He scored 0 points. Yeah. Okay. Do we just stop there? No. I'm going to shove you in a dumpster if you think we just stop there. 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Sorry, 3 assists. 3 assists, 2 steals in 19 minutes of work, okay? Not everyone could be Bruce Thornton. I don't know why it's so hard for everyone to understand that you can't have 12 Bruce Thorntons on a team. Sometimes you just got to be a role player. Sometimes you just got to step up and do your role. And what Gabe Cupps does is his role in the first 2 games, and then slap the floor and defend. He stops the ball. If you need to stop, Gabe Cupps is your best on-ball guard defender. That's who he is. So picking on him, complaining about him, I struggle. I struggle to figure out how to get people to realize that we can, as a fan base, collectively root for players even when they don't drop 27, 9, and 4. John Mobley Jr., he had some poor moments in this game, charged with 1 turnover in the second half early on, had a few weird passes, loose balls that are 100% on him, finishes with 4 turnovers. He also finished with 19 points. I can't complain about him all that much. 6 of 13 from the field, 5 of 9 from the 3-point line. Just in the first 2 games so far from John Mobley Jr., not seeing the NBA caliber level of play from John Mobley Jr. I think potential's there. I think the ceiling's there 100%. We just haven't seen the best of John Mobley Jr. yet, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I already mentioned Matthew Grujic. He gets his first points. Apparently, he's not a part of the rotation. Appears Colin White has kind of fully uprooted Gru's spot there in the rotation. Now that Colin White is healthy, he still looks so smooth off the dribble. So would like to see some more Gru. Here's my final thoughts on this game, okay? You had 10 bad minutes in this game, maybe 15. I'll give you 15 if you want to go that way, which actually kind of supports my argument. Maybe you did have 15 bad minutes in this game. You still won by 26 points. You still covered. You still scored almost 100 points. What is there to be mad about? And maybe you're not mad. And maybe you're listening to this episode and saying, why is this bozo so fired up? Why is he acting like everyone's mad? And it's because, I don't know, like I'm on Twitter. By the way, I have had 2 accounts just patty caking each other over the past 72 hours, arguing about how like Xavier and Cincinnati are better than Ohio State this year, which if you think that, man, we got to get you checked in somewhere. I don't know where, but you got to get checked in somewhere. They've just been battling it out in my mentions. Like every time I open Twitter, there's 5 notifications and it's just them. I don't know. I don't know. That said, I get comments like that. I mean, the Twitter at this point has become, I'm getting comments from a lot of people, and a lot of people are upset. And again, I get it. You haven't made an NCAA tournament in 3 seasons, but a 10-minute stretch accounts for literally less than 1% of the entire season. To be exact, it's 0.8% of the entire season. So if you're upset over 10 minutes of one game against Purdue Fort Wayne on the first week of the college basketball season, then maybe this sport isn't for you. Maybe this team isn't for you. Because you know what? They're going to have some bad moments. They're going to have some bad moments in November. They're going to have some more bad moments in December, and they're going to lose some games in January and February, and probably even March too. This might not be a national championship team. Shocker. Spoiler alert. I get it. Like, I think we just got to relax. We really, in a lot of ways, have just got to relax. Ohio State won. They covered. They're okay. It's 2 games in, and you're 2-0. The very first 3 games of the season should be green W, green W, green W. And then you go play Notre Dame. And should we be concerned about that? I don't know. Again, I've said this offseason, I picked Notre Dame to win that game in the preseason because I thought Notre Dame's offense, what they're returning, is already ahead of what Ohio State's defense is going to be this year. And I thought that would win the game for Notre Dame. I don't know. I could be wrong. Ohio State could win that game 97-74 or something like that. That's well within the range of possibilities. But that said, your first 3 games of this season should be green W, green W, green W. Win, maybe win ugly, maybe win pretty, probably win somewhere in between. That's how these first 2 games have gone. So now you'll play Appalachian State. That game will be on Tuesday. We'll have a show on Monday for that. That game is on Tuesday, right? I'm not checking right now. I'm assuming the game's on Tuesday. If so, the show will come out on Monday to preview that game. You got to go win that game. You're going to have a few days to prep for Notre Dame, and that's your first, maybe not even test, just your first quiz of the year. And at that point, that will give us a nice indicator of where this team really is. But if you're sitting here and you watch Ohio State in its second game of the season and you're upset because it doesn't look like a team that can go win in March, well, that's okay. This shouldn't be a team that can go win in March yet. It's November 7th. We have to calm down. And again, if you think this is foreign and you're thinking that the fan base, like you're like, I don't think this way. None of the people I see are thinking this way. So what are we talking about here? Then that's fine. This doesn't apply to you. I think Ohio State's in a good spot. I think Ohio State picked up a good win in this game over Purdue Fort Wayne. Didn't even mention Amari Bynum. 9 points in this game. Perfect from the 3-point line. I think he could have been more aggressive offensively. I think there is probably room for him to get to double digits in scoring and take and make a couple more shots. But there is some real promise. There's some real potential with this team offensively to not be perfect for 1/4 of this game and still score almost 100 points. That's really, really encouraging to see. So I think this Buckeye team is going to be good from the first 2 games. Again, the data is going to come in. It's going to come in slowly, and we'll get some more data on Tuesday when Ohio State plays Appalachian State. We won't really have a real hard, fast opinion on this team probably until Christmas or New Year's, and you need a couple games of Big Ten play to really know where they stand. Right now, I think everything is still in front of Ohio State, and they've got a good shot to go stack some wins, whether it be in the non-conference or in conference play in the Big Ten, and be a team that fans can get behind. So through 2 games, I don't know. There are things to complain about. I don't know how negative we need to be at this point about Ohio State basketball. All right. I want you to enjoy your Saturday. I want you to enjoy watching Ohio State beat another Purdue team. Who's better, Purdue football or Purdue Fort Wayne basketball? Not for me to say. Ohio State football will help us understand that by about 4:30-ish Eastern on Saturday. So enjoy that. Enjoy your weekend. We will be back on Monday to preview Ohio State taking on Appalachian State. Again, I feel like my tone has been a little angry in this one, and I apologize. If this made you feel sad and upset, that wasn't my goal. That wasn't my goal whatsoever. But I feel like we kind of got to chip away at some takes, especially some casual opinions that some fans have, and just say it's all right. Ohio State basketball is okay through 2 games. They're not going to be a finished product yet. It's November, and that's okay. And that's my opinion. And if you disagree, that's okay. And hopefully we can shake hands and part ways as friends. Or maybe this podcast isn't for you. That's okay. All righty. Well, I appreciate you listening to this show or watching it if you did on YouTube. Please like the video on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube. Subscribers go up every single day, which I'm very, very thankful for. Please continue the good vibes. Tell a friend about the show. Retweet a tweet if you feel like it. Doesn't matter. Keep growing this thing, man, because we want to do this the right way as the #1 Ohio State basketball podcast out there. Enjoy your weekend, folks. We've made it. We'll be back to kick off the week on Monday to talk about Ohio State taking on Appalachian State. But until then, I will shut up before you shut me off. Thanks for listening to today's show, and go Bucks.